Well, welcome everybody to Self Care, and I have count them, three co-hosts today. So one, come on, she's being shy today. That's not like her. Come on. We have Fagala is one of my co-hosts, and there you go. Tinkerbell is one of my co-hosts, and then of course Rajai Kaldani is one of my co-hosts, and he'll probably be doing most of the talking unless they decide to take over. so welcome to Self-Care. We're very excited to have you here. And today we're talking about, are you programmed to hate or to love? And what is it that we really mean by that? So, I'm going to be as gentle about this as possible. So, when you hear that somebody thinks differently than you do, what's your gut reaction? When somebody has a different skin color than you do, what's your gut reaction? When somebody has a different religion than you do, what's your gut reaction? When somebody has a different sexuality that you're not comfortable with, what's your gut reaction? And we're going to talk about that today. And I'm grateful to bring on my brother from another mother, Rajai Kaldani. Hi,
Hey,
Raj.
hey, Jody, how's it going?
It's
Glad,
going.
glad to have some co-pilots with me today.
Yeah, they're hilarious. They insisted upon being on the show.
Wow, every time I see them, there's just such beautiful colors. I mean, they're like really just beautiful creatures.
Well, and think about that. The colors are beautiful, but it's a reflection of what's going on the inside.
Ah,
Well,
yeah.
because there are a lot of parrots who pluck their feathers.
I've seen that. I've seen some that look pretty bad. I'm like, holy, what happened to that thing? Yeah,
Right? That reflects their stress and their anxiety and things like that. So,
right.
um, so we're going to be talking about, are we programmed to hate? Are we programmed to love? And this came out of the upset that I think that we all have about what's going on in other countries. People are dying,
Yeah,
right? They're being starved to death. And you had mentioned what's happening in the Gaza Strip. And
yeah,
what my response was to you was, well, that's the one they're talking about, right?
sure.
There's Malaysia, where they plowed everybody's homes down and took the trees and took the women, raped the women, right?
Yeah,
And and they use these trees to make the tires for our cars that we drive here in the United States of America.
yeah,
So, what I want, and the reason I don't want to minimize or nominalize what's going on in Gaza,
mm,
okay? I do want to bring a greater awareness that this has been going on forever. And so I'm
sure.
going to start this with the story that I told you about
Mm,
myself as a child.
yeah,
Then we'll take it from there, and I'll let you share what your thoughts are and where you want to go with this.
sure.
So as a kid, I grew up in Highland Park, Illinois, and I always wanted to go to Israel. And I grew up Jewish, for those of you who don't know, as I'm flashing my cross, right? But converted to Christianity, but have a lot of love for my heritage. Like no disrespect for my heritage. It brought me to where I am today. So the thing is that I always wanted to go, but they were fighting. There were wars. And I was 7. So I'm 60 now. And
Mm,
I'm still waiting for the war to stop.
yeah,
I'm waiting.
been a long time.
Hmm. So that's 53 years. And we
Mm,
know it's been going on longer than that.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a hot area in the world right now, and a lot of heated and feelings and emotions, and with kind of just what's going on now and the past and the background and the whole backstory. A lot of people should know about if they don't. I think it's important to be educated about what's going on in the world. But yeah, I mean, it is a wider problem. It is about, what choices do we make? Like, we all have choices, and we do have a choice to hate or to love or to be indifferent. And I think, I've always been an idealistic type of person, and I've had this vision of where we could be as a race, as a species. And I always felt like we were selling ourselves short, and that we could be much further along than where we are today. Although we've made progress, because we have made progress. I mean, we've had a dark history in the past. I mean, look at all the. Yep,
Sorry about that. Are you still there, Raj?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, I got a duplicate. It was my fault. I opened up Facebook to say hello to Phil. So, Phil, we're just going to wave and say hello, Phil Nocerino. There you go.
So, we've had this long, dark history of all kinds of atrocities that have happened in the past. And so we have made progress, but, where could we really be if we made different choices? And I think that's really what it comes down to. And, prejudice, hate, this division that we tend to kind of cling on to, right? We all, and I get it, right? Because I think part of it is the fact that we're hardwired to some degree, right? Because we look for social groups. We're always looking to attach to a group, right? And I think that's part of like just our survival mechanism, right? We want to associate with a group, especially early on. That's how like young kids find themselves in the gangs, right? I mean, they look to identify with a group, and they find a group, and then they start to kind of coalesce together. But the problem with that is when we identify with a group, we often look at the differences between groups.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we emphasize the differences. And so we look at things like skin color, race, we look at things like religion, nationality. I mean, you name it. How many things can we kind of have some distinction on? And we cling on to those. But really, those are really very superficial things that really, in the grander scheme of things, don't matter at all. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings.
Mm-hmm.
We all have
or feathered beans.
sure, but really beyond that, we're all spirit beings, right? Because this is not.
Actually, that's what she was looking for. She's like, really?
Well, right. I mean, so we could talk 3D and then we could talk 5D too, right? But we're both, right? Because
Yes.
we're spirit beings first, but we're also human beings here in 3D living this carnation, right? And we all have the same desires. We all just want to have a decent, happy, life. We want to raise kids and have friends and be successful. And for the most part, most people want to help other people. But you know what?
Well, I'm going to pause you on that.
Yeah.
So I disagree.
Sure.
So you and I spoke about this, but when I grew up in Highland Park, moved to Barrington Hills at the age of 11.
Yeah.
And a half, something like that. And I'm still friends with this girl. Okay. And her first name is Sherry. We'll just do that. Okay. So she comes down to greet me, Sherry and Ruthie.
Mm.
And, a couple days later, her mom says, well, she's Jewish.
Mm.
I don't think you can play with her.
Mm.
You have horns, right? Now, at the ripe old age of 11, or maybe she was 12, Sherry told her mom where to go. Now, Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we saw her. She lives in this same town as I do now,
Mhm.
or I live in the same town as she does because she moved here first.
Yeah.
And I bought one of her paintings, and I told her the story, and she didn't remember it, but she goes, "You know what? I'm still telling my mom the same thing."
Right.
To go with that. And so I disagree. I think there's a lot of programming. I think there's a lot of divide. And I think that if you got rid of the programming at the root cause or the root soul of who we are, I'm with you. I
Yeah,
think
I
people want,
agree.
yeah, people
So
want to be loved.
programming, a lot of that programming is based in the separation mentality, right? Which fosters and creates, ignorance, right? Not really understanding, not really knowing, not even giving another group a chance or a person a chance because you prejudge that person based on some superficial thing,
Right?
right?
That never really existed anyway.
What's that?
That never really existed anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. We all bleed red, and we all have emotions. Look, you're not going to jive with everyone. I'm not saying hey, you got to be friends with everyone because you're not. It's some people you're going to jive with, and some people you're not. But
And that's okay, right?
and it's okay. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you could. Hey, I like strawberry ice cream, and I don't like chocolate or whatever. That's fine. I mean, you can have a preference with people that you jive with, but one thing versus having like a total, let's say, bigoted ignorance and hatred towards something or someone that's unwarranted, right? I mean,
Mhm.
no basis for it whatsoever, other than you adopted someone else's idea about that person or that group, right?
Right.
Because most of it is not our own thoughts, right? I think the real problem, and there's different levels. So there's a personal level, there's a societal issue as well, and I think that's a that's a bigger problem is the societal issue because when you start looking and talking about masses, um, the intelligence of or the IQ, the emotional IQ of a mass of group of people is a
Mhm.
lot lower than it is for like a person one to one, right? Where um, it's
They get bought in.
it's easy to just essentially there's a mob mentality kind of that's easy to buy into, and it's very kind of primitive, right? But it's powerful because um, you know if you've ever been into, let's say, you go to a concert, right? I mean, there's an energy and a vibe within at that place, and it sweeps you in a way to where it almost bypasses your logic and just kind of takes you away on an emotional level, right? To where um, you buy into what's happening, right? There's an energy field around that event. So it's very easy for masses to get kind of sucked up into like low level thinking,
Mhm.
when it comes to geopolitical things, groups, things that are happening in the world. We see it all the time in the news, right? They're always kind of, lowest common denominator type of information,
I
um,
yeah.
without nuance, without distinction, and quite frankly, without context. And
And
I think,
and consciousness.
and consciousness. So, maybe what we need to do, so we need to take responsibility for our own, the way we think and the way we feel, but then also where we put our energy into, right? If we're listening to the news all the time, right? And the news is really, from my perspective, really isn't news anymore. It's not news anymore. It's just propaganda,
Thank you.
and we're feeding it by giving it our attention and support. We support it then, right? Because we are holding those people up as authorities when they're really just spinning tails, and they just want your attention. It's about
Or
controlling.
why are we giving the media the position of authority?
Well, collectively, that's what we've done. I mean, I don't personally.
Why do you think we've done that? Why do you think we've edified them? We've given them position of authority, and we think because it comes out of their mouth, it must be true. Tell me that. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's just convenience. Number one, right? Um, but it's also part of their belief system. So it's also, I don't know. I'm not an expert, so I can't make sense of what's happening here. I need someone else to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's also that kind of like passing the buck of taking responsibility of what information you receive as truth and what information you receive as false. And so it's easier for people to say, okay, this is a trusted entity that is going to tell me what I need to know about XYZ.
Well, and do you think that the news is a trusted entity anymore like it used to be?
No, I believe they've lost complete credibility. Well, at least for me, and for a lot of people in the world. And my camp is growing by the millions every day. I think people are starting to realize, because I mean, look at our history. If you actually just go back and just look at the last 15, 20 years, how many contradictions have we seen? Right? From what we physically see in the world and what we hear about in the media, and then we start to kind of compare and contrast, and we're saying, okay, that's a contradiction, that's a contradiction, that's a contradiction. Well, they have a consistent history of these contradictions. At some point you should start to wonder, hey, are these people really reporting on the news as it is, or are they spinning propaganda? And we've seen it time and time again. And if you're paying attention, you will see the contradictions, and it becomes apparent that you're not getting good information. You're not getting the news. You're being propagandized.
So I don't remember it used to be that way. I remembered where the newscasters did the work.
Yes. There used to be a time that used to be the case. So in the mid 90s, so there was a monopoly law that essentially no company could monopolize like a network, right? Or like a market. Let's say you're in Atlanta. One company couldn't own all the radio stations and all the newspapers in Atlanta. You had to have multiple separate entities, kind of like competing newspapers.
Well, like real estate, like anything else, right? I mean, we've had monopoly guidelines or rules for a long time, right?
Yes. So in 1994, under Clinton, they did away with that. So now,
wait, what?
In 1994, they passed a bill that did away with that. Right. So it was a law.
Industries, or just for the
media in particular.
Who's tied into where?
What's that?
Which is tied into where?
Well, I mean, look, so Bill Clinton is a Rhodes Scholar. Okay, so that we're talking Cecil Rhodes. Okay, we're talking, that's where the Rhodes Scholar comes from. Okay, this is really, the top tier elite class. This is a guy who more or less started South Africa. Okay, so we're talking the apartheid state, racist state of South Africa. And so this is when you hear Rhodes Scholar. So when I hear Rhodes Scholar, I'm thinking, okay, so this guy is connected to the top level globalist, and their real agenda is really total and complete control. And that's why they would do something like kind of demonopolize that, or get rid of that law that prevented monopolies within the press, within the media. So it used to be hundreds of companies all over the country reporting, doing different things. They were autonomous. They had their own agenda or whatever, but you had at least some competition when it came to the news, right? And,
And
and
now
so
we
there,
don't, I guess. Now we don't. That explains a lot because I had no idea.
yeah, so now there's about 5 or 6 companies that pretty much, like here in the U.S., that govern about, or that more or less, 95% of the news comes from those 5 companies, 5 or 6 companies.
Wow.
So that's why you're getting one voice. You get one voice. It's the same voice. And so they might give you a little nuance, but really on the big picture things, right? The things that really, really matter, you get one voice.
So that's why we have platforms now like Rumble.
Yes. And that's why they part of what they want to do now is they want to censor the internet, because they don't have the kind of centralized control that they have of like the media, right? Like
Mhm.
right. So there is a battle going on right now, right? And so part of, like, even like with these laws that they're going to start passing, of like, they're already doing it already, but specifically based on this conflict that's happening now, with hate speech laws, even more hate speech laws. When I hear those, I'm thinking, okay, that's censorship. That's what that really is all about. It has
So what
nothing.
are the hate speech laws?
Well, like they're
These are usually the conversations Rajai and I have backstage.
right. Yeah.
He teaches me a lot, so I'm just gonna let him roll. Just keep in mind what we can say and what we can't say, okay, honey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're looking to really control people's thoughts, speech. But if you control the speech, you control the thoughts, right? They're connected, and people will start to self censor, and we've seen that already. That happens all the time. But using, kind of over dramatizing this idea of hate speech, right?
Mhm.
Really, if it's hateful speech, there's people are going to realize it's hateful speech and not give it any mind, not pay it any mind. There doesn't need to be any additional laws to govern that, because I don't really think government can really govern morality, as an example. Okay, I
But
think,
they can try.
well, they really don't care about morality. It's really about control. They have one.
Oh no, I'm with you, but they'll label it, right?
Sure. Yes.
I mean,
So
look at Roe versus Wade.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime they present something to you, they're going to present it to you as this is something that's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the way it's done. Because if they tell you what they really want to do, you would be like, no, I don't want that. No, none of us want that. Why would we want to do that? So in order for you to kind of go along, it has to sound good to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tactic that's used all the time. And oftentimes that's also used in, like, kind of what we're seeing today, right? You have groups cheering on other people killing other people. And it's
So
like,
let's go back to Jodie Foster, shall
uh,
we? Because you know where I'm going to go.
yeah.
What was the movie that she did where she gets raped on the pinball machine, right? And all the
Mm,
men are cheering around, uh, egging the rapist on.
yeah.
And so you know, so we've been seeing this for a long time. If Jodie Foster did a movie of it, it's an issue,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And so the question is, personally, I think we're programmed to hate. That's my answer. But show's over. No, I'm just kidding. But the question,
Well,
how can you reprogram yourself to not get mad at someone for doing something and realize it's also their programming and shift their mindset into a new reality to understand that everybody, especially now, is just trying to heal.
Yeah. So I like so you and I took the NLP class, right?
Mm-hmm. Just got
And
certified last night with my husband.
congratulations. Yeah, and one of the things they talk about are these presuppositions, right? And one of the presuppositions is that everyone's trying to do the best that they can with what they have.
Right.
And I do believe that, right? So, but we all
Like, what's that pitter patter? Go ahead. Do you smell popcorn? No.
I do smell popcorn. But it's interesting because it's all based on our belief system. So like we will create an internal representation of the world based
Right.
on what we believe, right? So if we have belief systems that really are rooted in separation and saying this group is better than that group and we're superior than this group because of XYZ, because that's a belief, right? You have that belief, and then
Right.
you formalize a worldview based on that belief. Well, we need to, like, again, I think it really comes back down to looking at ourselves, being honest with ourselves, and reassessing some of those beliefs, right? Because we have been programmed. We have a society that really has been built on this separation idea. And that's why we do have all these problems and have had them for a long time. But that is a program. But we could also recognize that those are programs and we don't like those programs. They do not serve us. They do not help us. They don't move the needle when it comes to let's make a better world. How do we make a better world? Okay. How can, like I mentioned earlier, we could be hundreds of years in progress ahead of where we are today if we didn't have the separation mentality.
So I'm with you 150%. And I want to talk about the belief systems and the fact that we are doing the best that we can with the belief systems that we have, which were given to us by somebody else.
Yes, we've adopted those belief systems. So it's about taking personal responsibility for you. Are you, the thoughts you have, are they your thoughts or someone else's thoughts? The beliefs you have, are they your thought or your beliefs or someone else's beliefs? Right? A lot of people have not gone through that, right? Where they look at and deconstruct their own belief system about who they are, why they're here, what they're a part of, and what you're here to do.
Yeah, I'm writing you a note on here and I'm going to post it. So here we go.
All right. Yeah, I absolutely.
So I think we should do a group think class. It's going to be based in NLP. Raj will be certified in the next couple of weeks. And so we'll schedule it like for March timeframe, March or
Okay.
April.
Yeah.
And so we'll get no more than 10 people in the class, and it'll be, I think we should do 8 sessions, and we'll come up with a price that's fair, that's affordable for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. But because I think that, people can bring to the class they can start what the most important part that we can do for you. Sorry, this is just coming off the cuff. Is to help you have self-awareness about how you feel, how you react. Are you reacting or responding? Do you go into pause mode or victim mode? Right? Something happens. Is it happening for you or to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Victimhood is big. That's been weaponized in so many different ways in our society. And I think that's a problem. That's something that we need to address as a society, right? Because victimhood doesn't help anyone. Well, most people. It doesn't help most people.
No, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So I want to give a great example of that, because I've shifted my mindset like completely. I don't see myself as a victim. And if you want to say if anybody has a right to own a victim mode, I could do that. I mean, beat up as a kid all my life, in the hospital, misdiagnosed for 2 decades and almost died. Do I have any energy on it? Not any energy, because it's not my identity. It's not my identity. I mean, I don't own that as that's what makes me who I mean, like, that's not who I am. Now, I am grateful that it happened, because it makes me who I am today, which is a powerful being who helps people transform their own lives.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, thank you for that. Thank you to the doctor who misdiagnosed me. Thank you to the guy, that doctor who put me on the clinical trials. And thank you for the brain injury I had at the age of 7. So, and yourself included, what are you thankful for before I go to the next step?
Oh my Lord. Well, I mean, I'm thankful for everything. I mean, look, I've had my own experiences, been in the military, and kind of got exposed to some toxic chemicals and all kinds of stuff. And I've,
Is that your phone?
it's not my phone. Actually, it is my phone. Let me.
Yeah. Grateful for that phone. I mean, let that bell ring. Go
I
for it.
thought it was on mute.
It's okay. Huh?
So I'm thankful for my phone, by the way. But yeah, I mean, it really is about being aware of what your triggers are, because that's really that's kind of like an indication. Okay.
Right.
When we're triggered, why are we triggered? Is that, should there really be a trigger there? Right. I mean, because a lot of times there shouldn't. Maybe on some things, maybe, right? I mean, I think it's there for a reason, but is that a rational trigger? Is that something that I should really be concerned about? Is that something I should really put energy towards? Let's look at it. I've had to reassess my own beliefs, and I've done that multiple times. And it's not an easy thing to do, especially
It's
hard.
still not easy.
No, it's not.
It is so not easy. Look, I mean, my husband, wow. I just want to say, first of all, he's probably one of the most powerful people I know. Would I have said that last year? Probably not. But because he had traumas, like really real traumas, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm on him. Like, no, you got to get that handled. Now, I didn't just say you have to get it handled. Like,
Yeah.
you and I both gave him the tools, did we not?
Yeah.
Right. So Raj and I we've had our clients, so to speak. Andrew was not the only client. Right. And so we've had our clients, and we've been doing this for a very long time, him and I. And we decided to get certified just to give evidence to, like, hey, we do this, we know this, we live this, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we can really help people in a couple different ways. One, using the NLP, and then the other part, both Rajai and I are quantum energy healers, and so we can access consciousness. And so if the issue you have is from this lifetime, we'll let you know. If the issue is from a past lifetime, we will let you know. Right? And then we'll show you ways to clear it. So I think like 8 to 10 sessions, something like that. And we'll schedule the dates. And I think that what we could do is, at least for Georgia, but I could have some of the people come here, and we can pipe you in over the internet, over Zoom, and the rest of the people from around the country can, pipe in over the internet as well. So she's talking to Stephen.
What is she saying?
I wasn't listening. I do know that she's talking to Stephen. What are you saying to Stephen? Oh, my brother's here to apologize for beating me up as a child. Because he put me in the hospital a lot. I forgave brother Stephen. Stephen, I forgive you. Stephen, I forgave him a long time ago. The issue was they're asking me to talk about it. I didn't forgive myself.
Mm. And that's
And,
important.
yeah. And there were so many things to forgive myself for, by the way.
Right.
You know, and so and they're asking me to share this because it's being released now. So it was about 40 years ago when he strangled me and threw me across the room, and the corner of my back hit a very sharp table, and I've had a problem with my left hip, for most of my life. Someone's given me a thumbs up, thank you. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that I've had pain every day in my left hip, but I'm going to tell you that it's connected to an emotion. So as long as I wasn't releasing the emotion and the emotion came up, guess what? I got the pain, right? And so we're going to teach you those things too in this class. Someone really likes what I'm saying, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And so here's the thing: those cells. Cellular memories got stuck in the hip. So I've had to do a variety of things, massage, chiropractic, hot yoga. I got a great hot yoga teacher. Her name is MK, and she does EMDR too. I'm like, damn, you're good. But the point is that there are a variety of ways in which you can release these stuck emotions. And so I think having this group think class is going to be amazing, and we'll make it affordable.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. So what else? I mean, so we're talking about program. Wow, we got to the nitty gritty fast. It's only been 38 minutes. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
we don't mess around.
No, we don't.
Well, look, I mean, this stuff is really simple. The hard part is the actual application and actually doing it, right? I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, vibrate, at a higher frequency with love and be compassionate and walk in other people's shoes before you judge and all these things, right? And do unto your neighbor as you would like have done unto you, all these things that we all know about, right? But
right.
The real challenge is really doing it, right? The real challenge is being it. And but you know what? I mean, we have layers. We have to, we just have to be willing to work on ourselves and be honest with ourselves, with our spirit, right? Because in the end, we are all going to answer to that
Oh, yeah.
big guy in the sky. And when we're doing things that are violating other people's, let's call it their sovereignty, violating their
their divine right,
their
right?
divine right. That's right.
That. Let's say we're violating their divine right to clean air, clean food, clean water, and those things are causing the toxic relationships. Don't even get me started.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, people are being violated every single day. So if you're angry about it, you have a right to be angry. However, I'm going to tell you it's not helping you.
Yeah.
What does it do to their cells? You want to talk about that?
I'm sorry?
What does it do to their cells when they're so angry? You want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, anger is just going to cause, essentially your cells just shut down. Anger, well, if you're angry for a couple minutes, that's going to affect you for a good 24 hours.
Wow. So now I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What if I am angry for a couple minutes and then I clear it, give it to God, bring in the Christ white light and Saint Germain's violet flame? Does it still last for 24 hours?
Well, I mean, it probably won't be as long, but yeah. But I think you have to counter it with joy, right? You counter it with joy, and then now you're okay. So essentially.
Wait, do I show you my abdomen now, or because I'm wearing my joy patch? I don't know.
Nice.
I don't know where I put it.
That's funny. So everything is relative to each other, and they're on a scale. Okay.
Right.
So let's take hot and cold. Okay. Where does hot stop and where does cold begin?
Well, it's perception based upon, it's all perception.
It's the same thing. It's just on a different extreme. This way is hot. This way is cold. Where does it like transition. It's the same thing. It's the same kind of energy.
What do you,
As a
so
matter
what
of
are you
fact,
saying?
hot couldn't exist without cold.
Right, and love can't exist without hate.
Yeah. So how do we slide that, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we
Okay.
just how do we
How
kind
do
of
you fight it?
it's just the decision.
Well, if love can't exist without hate, and hot can't exist without cold, and joy can't exist without
Sadness.
sadness and anger, right? What do we do with that?
Well, I think it's realizing that we have power over these emotions. We get to choose what we experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's just a scale. We move it down, right? So now certain things are similar, right? So like there's certain things that have like a partner, right? So there's a duality, hot and cold, okay? But then you have solid and liquid. Well, those are two different things. So solid liquid, right? Like ice,
Ice and water.
right? It's the same
And
thing. It's the same substance. It's just the conditions have changed and it transforms. Well, how do we transform these things, right? We that especially our emotions, we have control over those. We can actually shift them. We can move them down that scale,
right.
and that's all we're doing.
So it's interesting. I'm not going to use the word, but it's the big C, right? There was a post that was done by our friend Michelle Froge, right?
Yes.
The Rockstar coach.
Yeah.
And she says, "You're not a victim, okay? And you don't have to act like one, and you can choose." And somebody said, "Well, I got prostate C, and how do you say that I have a choice in that?" And da 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 da. With while staying compliant, how would you respond to that person? Because I gave him an earful. Go ahead.
Well, I believe we're extremely powerful quantum beings, and we can actually we can heal ourselves
Hmm.
if we are tapped into the right kind of frequency, so to
Hmm.
speak. Right now, it's something that maybe people can learn, right? Because not everyone has that awareness of how to do that. But that's been done.
Yes, it has.
That's
Joe
been
Dispenza,
done.
right? The
And
girl on the flight on my way back from the cruise, it was crazy. I've got chills all over myself.
yeah,
Um, she broke her back and her ribs. She decided not to have surgery, and she decided not to do drugs. She's 33 years old. She goes, "You
yeah,
ever heard of Joe Dispenza? Because I think I'm just going to self heal." Like,
absolutely.
Jesus, I'm like, yes, you are.
Well, if you think about it, we are a self-healing entity. I mean, you cut yourself, it just heals on its own. But something like that, right? Okay, maybe you've been overwhelmed through life and stress and blah blah blah, and toxic living and all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
But you can shift that. You can shift that. You can actually, um, you can literally will yourself to health.
I know. How
You
many times?
literally can
How
do that.
many times did I do it last year?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was crazy.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm actually um, listening to an audiobook right now. It's an amazing book called Supercharge Your Healing. Or no, yeah, Supercharge Your Healing.
Who's the author?
Uh, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll text you the information. But it's a fantastic book, and this
Why
is
do you like it?
well, it's very similar to the Dispenza story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this guy more or less was paralyzed and had all kinds of problems. His diabetes was completely out of control. All kinds of infections. he just willed himself back to health, and he did it.
Dr. William Powlick?
I'm sorry?
Is his name Dr. William Powlick?
No, that's not it.
Supercharge your health with PEMF therapy is what I found.
No. Well, that's another way to help. It's a tool you could use, and you and I both use that, right? And it's very helpful. But
Oh, I love it. What about RJ Spina?
that's the one, RJ Spina.
Okay, so I'm going to show people just because they'll want to see it. So here's the thing. I want to go back to the fact that we are powerful beings, right? You can get this on Audible, it looks like, and I'm sure if it's on Audible, it's everywhere else.
That's right. Supercharged self-healing.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, what I was trying to get to the guy that I was speaking to on Michelle's thread was that we are so powerful. And what people don't understand is if you have unresolved issues, it will manifest as disease, which is what's going to make this groupthink class so important.
Yep. And I really do believe all this stuff goes back to our belief systems.
Of course it does.
Right.
And what are you programmed for?
Yeah, because you build everything else around that, right? Mm-hmm. Your actions are based on your belief systems.
Right. And if you're programmed to hate at so low vibration, your cells are going to be deformed. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's going to affect your body. I mean, it will manifest physically in your body, right? Because it's a low vibration kind of belief.
Yeah, and if you guys have, I'm not going to bring it up today, but if you've seen the other shows where Raj and I or any of my other guests, we talk about Masuro Emoto, a Japanese scientist, and he does the research unequivocally about the impact of negativity on ourselves. And, this has been done on plants and, people. Kindness is important, but false kindness doesn't work either, right? You can't fake it. No. Don't. Okay, she has something she wants to say because she's trying to take off mommy's earring. What do you hear what she's saying, or do you need me to translate?
I'll let you translate.
Okay. She's laughing. So, okay. So, Figla, what is it? Well, it's her message since I started the show. Start with heart. Mm-hmm. And she said that if we can understand, she says one of the books that mommy always talks about is the 4 agreements. And the hardest agreement that I had, and I think the book is right here in front of me. Sorry. Yep, here it is. Hold on. The 4 agreements, right? And the 4 agreements in the beginning are be impeccable with your word. We talk about integrity. Don't take anything personally, which I've never been able to handle except for the last probably 80 days of my life. I finally realized, really at a soul level, that what people are doing has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with you. What's going on in, it's their own hate. It's their own love. It's their own joy. It's their own anger, like whatever it is that they're choosing. And you may show up as a trigger for that person, which then also means it's in your field. So you have something else. You can clear it so you don't attract it anymore. And it could be from this lifetime or a past lifetime. And Rajai and I will teach people how to do that. So Naeem is asking about what we think about group fear. We did talk about that earlier, Naima. Do you want to share that again real quick, kind of the Reader's Digest version, since we have like 11 minutes left?
Yeah, I mean, group fear is powerful, and you know, it's a very dangerous thing, right? Because the like we mentioned earlier, the IQ of people, the and the EQ, right, the emotional intelligence and the IQ of people in a large group goes down, right? It kind of plays to the lowest denominator, right? Because once we buy in and kind of you know become part of a group or become a part of like a mad or like a mob mentality, we're not using our higher brain function. We're not using our heart. We're just being led, right, by the moment. We're being led by uh, whatever is being pumped out into the airwaves, but it's not ours. It doesn't belong to us, right? We need to take responsibility for what we buy into and what
Well,
we
yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. There's something. Think about a pinball machine.
yeah,
Bing, 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 bing. Right? They're all bouncing off of each other. Right?
yeah.
When you get that group think together, what's happening? Not a negative group think, not the kind that we're going to create. Um, we're having it's electrical, right? So
It's
now this.
amplified. Yeah.
Mhm. Talk to that, if would you please?
Yeah, I mean, look, so if we have fear-based, negative, kind of hateful type of group think, those are the kinds of things that can lead to things like genocide. Okay, and it has done that in the past.
Hmm.
Okay, we have to guard against that. Like these are the things that we need to say, hold on, wait a minute, what is the information that's being put out here? And we need to check it, right? Is this real information? Is this propaganda? Is this designed to get a reaction from the crowd or from the people? And so, mob mentality or that group think um, really is dangerous. And I think what we need to do, how we evolve as a species, I believe, is we get rid of the groupthink or we minimize it unless
Well,
it
negative group think. I think that in our
sure.
group think tank that we create, we're going to actually help people co-create, but empower them to go back and do it on their own.
I get that. But so if we take responsibility for our thoughts and emotions, so we're
Mhm,
taking the power back.
mhm.
Now it's our power.
Yes.
We can now choose. Okay.
Yes.
So now it's no longer a group think. Now this is me. Well, who are you? Okay. It's so now you are making those decisions. You are saying yes, no, that doesn't resonate. That's not true. Or, I won't, that's not who I am. I will do this because these are my principles and what I believe in.
Mhm,
And that's it.
mhm.
It's, it stops with you. It begins and ends with you. And when you start to like just go with the flow because everyone else is doing it, then
Mhm.
you're not in charge. You're giving away your power.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 150%.
Mm,
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
yeah,
So, any last thoughts before, because we are going to end a couple minutes early, because I know you've got an appointment and so do I.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think we just we just need to really work on reconnecting with who we are and why we're here. And I think if we did that, a lot of our problems, and that collectively, right?
mhm,
Um, because we unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but we do live in a society. But it really begins with each one teach one, each one radiate out. Okay, be that example because too many people are just kind of walking around aimlessly, not really being utilizing their full potential, being the best person that they can be. Because if we all did that, it would be a different world.
Yeah, and I think it all starts with self-awareness and being willing to look at yourself and know that the worst parts of you are okay. I mean,
Yeah,
you're gonna probably modify it so
we
you
all have
get better.
shadow. We all
Yeah.
have shadow, kind of dark and light, but it's about being authentic, right?
Mhm,
Being authenticity is where we need to be.
mhm. Okay. Well, I think that's a great note to end on, and, next week we have, the rock star coach on here, Michelle Froge, and what we're gonna talk about, we don't actually have the title of the show yet, but we're gonna talk about feeling your feelings,
Mm.
right? And that it's okay to feel your feelings, and we're gonna give you some steps to do that. And how to create a safe place to feel your feelings, right? Because if you keep quashing them, guess what? You're gonna burst.
Well, they come right back, right? They need you need they need to be acknowledged, just like a kid, right? A kid that's like that wants that attention. Once you give them the attention, it's like, oh, okay, great. I think these things that we have in us, that sometimes hold us back, could be negative, they just need to be acknowledged. They represent something, a piece of us, right?
Mhm.
And just need to be kind of be brought back into the fold and acknowledged and respected.
I agree.
Mm,
I agree. I couldn't agree more. So, join us next week. Thank you, Rajai. Thank you,
absolutely.
everybody, for showing up. Share the show, please, with your friends, your colleagues, people you think will benefit from really taking a look. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the whole entire world at looking at their program belief systems and how it's hindering them or helping them. All right. And everyone, thank you and have a beautiful, beautiful day. All right.